at 10 a.m. on January 15, 1947. Barry Bursing, a housewife, while walking along Norton Avenue in Los Angeles, discovered a strange human-shaped object lying in a vacant lot by the roadside. When she first saw it, Betty said that the object was so white. She thought it was a mannequin, but upon closer inspection, she realized that it was the naked body of a dead girl. Immediately after, Betty called and informed the local authorities. "Hello, how can I help you today?" And today, I will tell you about the very famous Black Dahlia case, which happened in 1947, and to this day, the perpetrator has not been found. The body that was found belonged to Elizabeth Short, who is more popularly known as the Black Dahlia. Perhaps it was because she had jet black hair and often wore black clothes. Her body was cut in half at the waist, and some small parts of her body were missing, were also mutilated. Although she was brutally murdered and mutilated, Elizabeth's body had no trace of blood at all. This means that someone had thoroughly cleaned the body before dumping it on Norton Avenue. At the scene, the killer left behind a bloodstained sack, along with a footprint among the car tire tracks. Right near the crime scene, the Los Angeles Police Department was able to identify Elizabeth's body thanks to her fingerprints. An autopsy was performed on Elizabeth's body on January 16, 1947. The marks on her body suggested that this poor woman had been bound and brutally tortured, and the cause of her death was determined to be asphyxiation and cerebral hemorrhage. The police then began the investigation, with the hope of finding more information about the victim. Elizabeth moved to Los Angeles in July 1946, and she worked as a waitress while trying to become an actress in Hollywood. And during that time, she found her ideal partner. It was Matt Gordon, an Air Force officer, and the two promised to get married when he returned from the war. However, the promise was nothing more than words left unfulfilled when Matt was killed in action and could never reunite with his beloved. Elizabeth was devastated. She locked herself in her room and mourned her lover. Grieving after her lover's death, she began throwing herself into brief one-night stands with any man she met. The last person to see Elizabeth alive was Robert Manley, who was also one of her lovers. On January 9, 1947, Robert drove Elizabeth to the Beaumont Hotel in Los Angeles. The two said goodbye at 6:30 p.m. And that was also the last time Manley saw Elizabeth. It happened over the course of a week, since Elizabeth arrived at the hotel, until her body was discovered at Biltmore, remains an unsolved mystery. The only thing we can be sure of is that, during those 7 days, Elizabeth had a fateful encounter with her killer, who took her life. On January 24, 1947, a suspicious letter was sent to the examiners. In Los Angeles, the envelope included a letter, made up of letters cut out from newspapers, along with some additional content written by hand, along with some of Elizabeth's personal belongings, including her birth certificate, business cards, photographs, and various names written on a piece of paper and an address book. All of these items had been thoroughly cleaned and sterilized with gasoline, just like the way Elizabeth's body had been cleaned. According to the police, it was highly likely that the letter came from the killer. The police also contacted around 75 men, whose names appeared in Elizabeth's address book. But most of them were merely acquaintances of Elizabeth, and had no close relationship with her at all. After examining Elizabeth's body, authorities believed that the perpetrator was someone with medical knowledge. Therefore, the police questioned individuals at the USC School of Medicine, a place located near where Elizabeth's body was discovered. But after the interrogations and investigations, they were still unable to find anything that could move the investigation forward. Although the efforts to uncover the truth gradually faded, the public's fascination with the case never waned. The unsolved murder of Elizabeth Short inspired the content of many different books and films. The most famous is The Black Dahlia, a fictional novel published in 2008, which was based on Elizabeth's case. While the Black Dahlia case remains unsolved, many theories have been proposed about who might have committed the crime. A large number of people actually came forward to confess to the crime, but most of these confessions were proven to be false. The reason why this effect happened, when a large number of people actually confessed to a crime they didn't commit. Then I can also think of a few reasons. Interrogators from American police departments believe that innocent people would almost never confess to a crime they didn't commit. However, these cases are still quite common. In the 1990s, when DNA technology began to be used in order to accurately identify the criminals, researchers were able to present 3 reasons as follows. First, innocent people can voluntarily confess to a crime they did not commit in order to attract attention. Second, people interrogated by aggressive and angry investigators may confess to a crime just to end the stressful interrogation they are undergoing. These confessions are called false confessions. Finally, there are psychological issues. During the interrogation process, the person being questioned can, in a moment, be completely convinced that they are the one responsible for the crime. With the Black Dahlia case becoming widely known to the public at that time, as newspapers competed to write in-depth stories about it, hundreds of people came forward to confess to the crime, and many of them couldn't even identify Elizabeth from close-up photos. This case has not yet been solved. After all those confessions, there are authors of true crime books also pointed out many similarities between the Black Dahlia case and the Cleveland Torso murders, which occurred from 1934 to 1938, when the killer's method of murder also involved dissection, mutilation, and deforming the victim's body.